What is up, awesome peeps? Brent McCluskey here with Electrified Reviews, and today we are reviewing the vBike LENO 20 folding fat tire electric bike. We're going to dive into the specs on this, but first, let's roll the B-roll. All right, awesome peeps. Again, this is the vBike LENO 20 fat tire folding e-bike right here. We've been doing quite a few folding bikes lately. They are definitely really popular right now, especially the fat tire version. So we have another one for you right here. Just a bunch of different styles and models you guys should check out, and hopefully you'll be digging this one as well. A couple things about this bike and the company right here in particular. This bike right here, the LENO 20, only comes in one frame size, this one right here, and two colors, black and white right now. They might offer more colors in the future, I don't know. But right now it's just black and white, this one frame size. It has a starting price of $13.99. We're gonna get into the specs later, but it's $13.99 for this one right here. If you want to upgrade the battery, the price jumps to $16.99 for about 50% more capacity for the battery. So if you're looking for a long-term commuter, maybe something to consider, you know, bumping up the battery here. Now, vBike, vBike here, this is a Canadian company. They're based in Canada, so the great thing about that is you know they're gonna be a nice company, right? The customer service is probably gonna be really, really good. That's just typically how it is. And what's kind of cool about these guys here is the owner, the guy's name is Vahid. He's actually a PhD, the dude's a doctor, and he built his first e-bike back in 1985. So the guy does have quite a few years of experience here with the e-bike industry and just kind of, I guess, building them and kind of creating them. So that's kind of a cool little history right there. And yeah, I think one other cool thing about this company here real quick before we dive into the specs is vBike, right now at least, they've only got folding bikes on their website, which is kind of cool because it makes them like a specialized company, right? They're only dealing with folding bikes, and I kind of hope that they stick with that because it could make them a little bit unique, you know, like maybe they're the company, maybe they're the folding e-bike company, and that's kind of what they specialize in. If you want a good folder, you know, you can kind of check it out here. Yeah, so all right, look, let's dive into the specs here on this bike, starting with the motor back here in the back. This is going to be a 500 watt geared hub motor in the back, about 750 watts of peak power, 500 watts of nominal power, 80 newton meters of torque for a top speed about 28 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit faster. This is a very quick bike. It's a well-tuned, fast motor here. You can reach that top speed with the throttle right here on the left-hand side, which is live from 0 miles per hour, as long as you're in a positive pedal assist mode. Or you can hit that up with the cadence sensing pedal assist. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to get a shot of it here, but this is a cadence sensor. And like all cadence sensors, it's gonna have some latency from the time that you start and stop pedaling to the time that the motor actually activates and deactivates. We always wanna call that out because some people prefer torque sensors, but the reality is torque sensors are great, but they do cost a lot more money. And most of the time, even if there is latency with a cadence sensor, you can override that latency with the throttle. So if for some reason you're feeling like the cadence sensor is not sensitive enough for you, it's not picking up your cadence quick enough, just tap the throttle to get going, and then you can kind of like overcome that you can overcome that like latency with the throttle. I hope that makes sense. Also, this motor does not have it, but their upgraded version of this bike, the LEVO 20, I believe that starts with $300 more, or $200. I think it's only $200 more actually. That motor has what's called epass technology. Some companies call it epass, some companies call it iPass. We've seen it a couple times, and it basically is like a regenerative type braking motor where it's collecting extra kinetic energy when you're going faster than like 14 miles per hour, or if you're cruising down a hill, it'll just automatically start collecting energy and feeding it back to the battery to extend your range even further. It's pretty cool tech. This one does not have it, but I did want to mention, again, if you guys did want to get the LEVO 20, this is the LENO 20 with an N. Their upgraded one is a LEVO 20 with a V, L-E-V-O, and that does have the epass. So kind of cool little upgrade thing right there. Battery on this is gonna be inside the main tube. It's gonna be a 48 volt, 10.4 amp hour battery, stock, and again, that's for the $13.99 price. If you do wanna upgrade to that 14.6 amp hour battery, same size, it fits right there, just like this one does. That's gonna be $300 more. The range on this is gonna be probably about 45, max range, 45 miles. If you get the upgraded battery, probably gonna be about 65 miles, maybe 60 miles, something like that. But look, I wanna say this again because I wanna make sure that, you know, we're presenting this, you know, accurately and not kind of exaggerating stuff here. But, you know, with max estimated range, I just wanna make sure that you guys, you know, it's an estimated range, right? That's for like ideal conditions. So if you're riding this bike, you know, and you've got the pedal assist on, you're actually pedaling, you're not using the throttle very much, maybe you're in a low pedal assist mode, easily you're gonna get the max range. Real world range is probably gonna be less, and I always liken that to like miles per gallon for a car. You know, when you buy a new car, you see the sticker and it's like 35 miles per gallon, you know, highway, and it's like, yeah, if you're going 65 miles per hour, you don't start and stop, you know, so it's kind of the same thing. It depends on the conditions and how you use it. So I just wanna make sure that makes sense. Down here, for the derailleur, we're gonna have a Shimano Tourney derailleur, entry-level component. Not a big deal, we talked about this before. Derailleurs do not matter as much for hub motors. They do start to matter quite a bit when you get into mid-drives because it places all that extra torque on the system. But for a hub motor like this one, it's just not that important. So 7-speed Shimano Tourney derailleur right here in the back. You'll see it also does have a steel derailleur cage. That little black metal bar right there kind of protects the derailleur in case it does tip over to the right here. On the top, we'll see on the right-hand side of the handlebars, we've got a Shimano SIS Index thumb shifter. Like we always talk about, not our favorite thumb shifter, but you know what? It does the job fine. And if you wanted to upgrade the trigger shifters for some reason, you could always do that in the future. I got these keys hanging up here. I wanted to show you guys these real quick. The battery is locking. Let me turn this back on real quick. The battery here is locking and removable. So you can use the keys here. Once you open up the frame, and I'll unfold this for you guys here in a minute, but once you unfold it, you can use the keys to unlock the battery, pull it out, charge it separately from the bike if you want to. And then these right here, these are like a car alarm for the bike, which is kind of cool. So I'm just gonna hit this. You'll see it locks the bike. So if you start to move it or try to ride off with it, the alarm will go off. If you want to unlock it, just hit the unlock button. And I think this is the alarm. Got to hold it? Maybe it's not active. So it looks like, at least on this model, it's gonna be just the lock right there and the unlock. So that's what that sounds like, kind of cool. Hang those back up right here for later. One thing I wanna say about this is, well, first of all, look, this has a double-sided chain guard kind of guide. So this little plastic piece right here, it's not gonna do much in the way of protecting the chain ring. If you get a strike, it's not gonna help keep the teeth from getting damaged, but this is going to help the chain from derailing towards the inside and outside, which is very important because derailments just aren't fun. Now, the front chain ring, you're not gonna be able to see it right here because it's kind of slight, but it's a little bit bent. This bike got a little damaged in transit. Not really the fault of vBike. It's just sometimes, guys, and this is something you definitely should know, is, you know, when you're getting bikes shipped to you, the reality is sometimes the carriers are not very gentle with the boxes, man. They throw this stuff around sometimes. So every once in a while we get a damaged bike. Most of the time it's something that can be fixed pretty easily. Like if I got a, you know, some pliers and a wrench or something, I could straighten that front chain ring out in probably 5 minutes. But I'm trying to leave it as is so you guys can see how it arrived and how it came out of the box for us. This does have a 1-year warranty for everything. So, you know, if I actually bought this bike and that was an issue, if I wanted to, I could just send it back to them because it's, you know, it came damaged. Or more likely what I'd probably do is just have them send me a new chain ring and just plop that on. Or maybe just, again, like I said, fix it myself. But yeah, 1-year warranty. I think it's a pretty comprehensive warranty. And then 5-year warranty for the frame, which is pretty good and honestly something I would expect and want to see for a bike starting at about $13.99. So I'm glad they are offering a pretty competitive warranty. So good stuff. In the front here, we do have kind of no-name spring suspension, about 60 millimeters of travel. This is not suspension that's meant for downhill racing, big jumps. You know, it's meant for smoothing out the ride while you're riding on asphalt, maybe hopping off a curb, whatever. Maybe going on a light dirt trail, going through grass. You know, that's the kind of stuff this is really meant for. About 60 millimeters of travel. It does have preload adjust. It does have lockout. If you want to just make the shocks dead, make them stiff, you can do that. Increase your efficiency while riding. 4-inch wide fat tires. We've talked about this before. This is definitely a fad, like we keep saying. But there's a lot to offer with the fat tires. They do give you a lot of air volume, and it makes for an even cushier ride. All that air in there acts like a little bit of a spongy suspension, right? Just helps smooth out the ride a little bit more. That wide tire patch on these fat tires is also really good if you're gonna be driving through grass a lot. If you do have snow, sand, mud, gravel in your area, you're really going to appreciate these fat tires, especially since you can air them all the way down to 5 PSI if you want to do that, and that'll widen out that tire patch even more, just like that. So that's kind of cool. This front headlight, I'm gonna turn it on for you guys real quick so you can see it. The headlight is actually pretty impressive on this bike. I'm happy with it. It's relatively bright. It's not the brightest one I've ever seen, but it's pretty bright. I would say it's bright enough to even, you know, it's more than just to increase visibility so that cars can see you. It actually illuminates your path. Hopefully you guys can see, you know, maybe compare the other ones we've shown you on camera. It's always hard to tell how bright it is on camera, but that's what it looks like. It's pretty bright. It's hard to look at directly with the naked eye. It also does have a rear tail light. Not super bright, but it does increase visibility, helps vehicles, pedestrians, other riders to see you if you're riding in low light or no light conditions, which is very important. Also, something I want to mention again real quick, I forgot to mention this earlier. This bike comes pretty much 100% assembled out of the box, which is really nice. So you can just fill up the tires. I think all you had to do was maybe throw this the stem on here, the handlebars into the stem. That's it. The tires were already on, the front tire. The fenders were already attached. The rear rack was already attached, which can sometimes be pretty difficult to install. And that's important. I think also at the price point, $13.99, having it be fully assembled is just a nice little bonus. It's cool that it does have this rear rack that comes included with the bike. It's actually attached to the frame. It does bolt on. So if you want, you can remove this. You can swap it out for a different one or just leave it. I mean, it's pretty functional as it is. So you can throw pannier bags on there if you want to. You can just throw groceries, backpack, whatever you want. Speaking of backpacks, I'm meaning to show you guys this. We've upgraded or updated our pack here. We switched to one of the chrome bags, just trying to minimize our footprint. I mean, the other bag I had, if you guys recall, it was just so big, so much stuff. So I try to like dump as much as I can and make it smaller. A lot of you guys have asked about the bags and stuff that we use and what's in the bags. We're actually gonna do a like a what's in the bag or a bag dump video pretty soon. So yeah, stick around for that. That'll be coming up pretty shortly. Back to the LENO 20 from the vBike right here. Let's go over to the brakes. These are gonna have Tektro mechanical disc brakes, 180 millimeter rotors here in the front and the back, which is nice. So they didn't skimp on that. Sometimes, I don't say a lot of times, sometimes companies will put a smaller rotor in the back, but I think, you know, whatever the front one is, just make them symmetrical, make them even like this. I'm glad they did that. Mechanical disc brakes generally don't have as much stopping power, of course, as hydraulic brakes, but these ones came pretty well tuned from the factory, and the stopping power is quite good. I'm really happy with the stopping power for this bike, especially since, again, it does go 28 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit faster, maybe around 30. It's a fast bike, guys, so just be careful with this. It's gonna be a class 4, or I guess you could call it an unregulated bike, if you're in that 28 mile per hour mode. So something to keep in mind. It may not be legal to ride in all areas. You might get hassled about it, so, you know, ride at that speed at your own risk, right? The brake levers themselves, they have motor inhibitors built in. So this one right here, this bigger cable, this is the actual wire that pulls the, you know, the caliper or whatever to clamp on the disc. And this little one right here, the smaller wire, that's actually a electrical cable, and it senses whenever you depress the brake lever here, it senses that, and it automatically cuts power to the motor. So if you pull the brake lever even just a little bit, even if you're pedaling and have the throttle like all the way, the motor just shuts off. And the reason for that, which is again particularly important for this bike since it does go so fast, the reason for that is a safety thing. It's so you're not fighting against the motor while you are braking, and it ensures that you have the shortest possible stopping distance. Very important little safety feature right there. Wire management on this is going to be pretty good. You know, they've done a good job of, you know, keeping things nice and tight. They're partially wrapped. I'd like to see them, you know, maybe fully wrapped. but that's kind of a preference thing. Maybe you guys like them half wrapped like this, but at least they are nice and bundled. I appreciate that. Like most folding bikes here, the wires are externally routed. Reason for that is, you know, when you put the wires inside the bike all the way, it just can leave room for damage when you're folding it, unfolding it. So that's why most folding bikes have the wires externally routed. You'll see like here, can you see it? It does feed a little bit into the frame to kind of, you know, back here once we get past that folding point. But for the most part, yeah, externally routed wires, that's what we got going on right there. Before I dive into the display, I actually want to fold this bike for you guys so you can see what that looks like. So we'll set this down right here, bring that up, hit focus, manual focus, keep it locked. There we go. So this is going to be a two-stage locking mechanism for the frame and a single-stage locking mechanism for the stem here. To fold the frame, it's going to be that, lift up that safety piece right here, and you're going to pull this out, and the frame is going to be free. Also, you can adjust the stem height here for the handlebars. So if you want, you can bring them all the way up like this if you're a taller rider, or you can bring it all the way down to about that height right there. I keep this about right there for me. If you are going to raise these handlebars all the way up, just be careful of not making them too high, because watch, check this out. When you raise the handlebars all the way and you start turning the stem, you can start putting a lot of pressure on this whole cable system right here. So that can be an issue, something to just watch out for. So back to folding this thing. For the stem, again, it's a single stage locking mechanism, which means that, just to reiterate, this is not an off-road bike. You don't want to be doing tons of like really bumpy stuff at high speeds, because this stem, since it's single stage, all the ones that are designed like this, they can come unlocked if you are doing heavy off-road use. So I do not recommend that. So we're gonna fold that. That's already undone. This piece right here, this is called a gusset. It's used to strengthen the frame. It's also used secondarily as a handle, so you can kind of pick it up and move it like this, or fold it as I'm doing. So that's what the folding looks like. Boom, just in half right there. Right now, it's resting on the pedal. You can do it this way, or you can rest it on this metal bracket right here. Either way works, but as you can see, it does stand upright on its own when it's folded, so that's kind of nice. If you want to, you can actually fold these pedals as well, just to get a little bit more space savings if you're in a really tight spot. And if you need to, this is a quick release as well, so you can just bring the saddle all the way off in just about a half second, get you even more space. That's really good if you're like trying to put it in the trunk of like a Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic or something like that, where it's a pretty small space. It'll still fit, but you just gotta maybe take off the saddle, fold the pedal, stuff like that, all right? Okay, to unfold, same exact thing, just in reverse. So we're gonna grab the handlebars, bring those up, drop the keys. Uh-oh, it's not happy with me. I think it thinks I'm trying to steal it. I swear I'm not stealing you. Okay, deploy the kickstand, and yeah, good to go. That's how you fold and unfold the LENO 20 right there. And now let's move over to the display on this bike. This is a good display. You can see this pretty clearly in broad daylight. I'll show you how to use it here. Just an independent button pad on the left. We got a bell over here too. Sounds a little deadened. Something's in the way, I think. But anyways, to turn this on, it's gonna be a long press of the power button or the M button. You see the display comes to life. It's gonna be a 10-bar battery indicator up here on top. Current speed, level of pedal assist, odometer. It always starts in pedal assist level 0. So even if, like, let's say I like pedal assist 3, let's say I turn it off. Once I turn it back on, it's gonna reset back to the default, which is gonna be odometer right here, pedal assist 0. That's just how it resets. So personally, I would prefer that, you know, whatever I save the info as when I turn it off, it'd be cool if it turned back on like that, but not a big deal. Like, it just takes a half second to get it back to how you like. So anyways, if you tap the M button, it'll switch to trip A voltage. The voltage is going to be a much more precise way to see how much juice is left in the battery. 10-bar battery indicator, that's pretty precise. Most of the time it's 4 or 5, but if you want an exact measurement, voltage, that's how you do that right there. current. I think that's probably the watts that you're spitting out of the bike. So, you know, it lets you know how much power you're drawing from it while you're riding. Tap it one more time. It goes to time, and then back to the odometer right there. And that's what that looks like. So yeah, like I'm saying, I mean, hopefully you can see pretty much from all angles here on the camera. This thing is really easy to see in direct sunlight. I mean, it's in the shade right now, but you'll see when I'm riding, when I have the GoPro on. It's these are good displays. I like those displays a lot. So, all right, look, awesome peeps. That is it for the review of the vBike LENO 20 fat tire folding e-bike right here. We're gonna take this for a test ride so you can see it in action, and here we go. All right, awesome peeps. That is it for the review of the vBike LENO 20 fat tire electric bike right here. Again, in summer, this thing starts for $13.99 USD, $1,399 USD. That is for the standard 10.4 amp hour battery. Again, if you do want to upgrade that bigger 14.6 amp hour battery for the extended range, that's an extra $300 for that, but it's going to get you about 50% more range. So if you're looking for a longer term commuter, you might want to consider upgrading the battery. If around 45 miles of range is good enough for you, then I would just say you probably just leave it as it is. This is going to be a good bike for people who need something that is going to be compact, because again, it is a folding bike, so you can put this thing in half, put the handlebars down, fold the pedals up, throw it in the back of your car, throw it in your RV, throw it in the back of your plane, your small plane if you're like a private pilot, something like that. All these folding bikes are just really, really good for people who have limited space, because that's what they're designed for. Again, one of the cooler things about this company here, vBike, we really appreciate that they kind of are specializing in folding bikes. Looks like they're kind of building up their inventory. So we're really excited to see, you know, what happens with them in the future. They might be kind of like a big player for, you know, folding bike specific e-bikes, which is kind of cool. One more thing I do want to say is the fat tires here, like we talked about, this is a big trend. We've been seeing these a lot, and they are not just, you know, a fad. The fat tires that we talked about, they are really good for adding some extra cushion to the ride. It does just kind of smooth things out, especially with that front suspension. Makes it for a pretty nice ride while you're riding this around town. Yeah, you can take it off-road for light trails, but this is not like a downhill, you know. Don't be doing any races or big jumps with this bike. But yeah, the fat tires, this is also going to be good for you guys if you need a folder and if you need something that's going to work for like snow, sand, or mud specifically. You know, if you have something that, if you have an area where you just have less than ideal terrain that you're tackling a lot, the fat tires are really going to come in handy for that. So awesome peeps, that is it for the vBike LENO 20 fat tire e-bike review. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for thank you so much for watching. And I do want to mention, if you guys want to chill with us on Discord, we'll leave the link to that in the description if you have specific questions about this bike. Sometimes it's a little bit easier for us to get back to you guys there, or if you have questions on older reviews that we've done, sometimes it's easier just to hook up on Discord. So yeah, if you want to slide into that, we'll leave the link there. We also have an Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff if you want to check out what we're doing on our other social media channels, and TikTok as well. So yeah, awesome peeps. Again, have a great day. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.